We're after Halacha Gimel. We're in the middle of the Gemara. Avani Minu Gos, which is Avani Minu Gos. I'll tell you exactly where it is. It is 3, 6, 9 lines to the top. The first word in the line is Avanim. Okay? First word in line is Avanim. Minu goes. Okay, 9 lines from the top. Avanim Minu goes. You have stones which got afflicted with saras. They were from a house in which there was saras in the house. Shasan seed, which you made into plaster. Now, in the process of making the plaster, you burn them. You burn the stone, you crush it, you pulverize it, you make it, and then you burn it, and make it plaster. So, what's their status after you made them plaster? Is Tane. There's one the Tana who said, Olumi Tumosan. They're no longer Tame. Vis Tane. Olumi De Tumosan. And there is another Tana who said they do not lose their Tumah. Manmar Olumi De Tumosan. He says they lose their Tumah. Harelu Mutoros. It would seem that he should hold that after they lose their Tumah, they're also permitted to derive benefit from. You can derive benefit from them, even though that which has saras is also by no prohibited to derive benefit from. But once it's burnt and it loses its tumah, surely it should be permissible to derive benefit from them, right? And if you hold on the other hand that when they are burnt they do not lose their tumah, then they should remain also by no, they should remain forbidden. Says Gemara, no. Even according to the people who chose that they lost their tumah, they remain forbidden. Because it says tsaras mam eres. What does mam eres mean? It means that it is accursed. Put upon it a curse. Al the enemy man, you're not allowed to derive any benefit from it. So even once it's burnt, you're still allowed to derive benefit from it, even though its tumah is gone.
Why would you have a havamina?
Because anything else the Torah are about to say, it's a very good havamina. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan said, "Call nisrafim a foreign mutter. Anything which there is a mitzvah to burn because it's prohibited to derive benefit from. Once you burn it, the ashes are mutter ba'noah. Chutz me'efer abon machmas avodah zarah, except for ash which comes from avodah zarah." Hey, so Rabbi Chia Bar Yosef could Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Chia says for Rabbi Yochanan, wait a minute, the ashes which come from this house, which had saras, it doesn't come from avodah zarah, v'atamar aser. Yet nonetheless you forbid it, even after it's burnt. Why? Says Maram Alesi says very interesting part, limud. He says, Shani, it's different. To see Netitza is Exer Shava. It says, Netitza, by a house which has saras, you have to break down the house. It says, Netitza by Avodah Zarah, you have to break down any Avodah Zarah. So it's Exer Shava, just like Avodah Zarah is also even after it's burnt, so too saras is also even after it's burnt. So these are two unique things. The two cases in Torah, even after the substance is burned, it still remains also by Noah. Chometz is not like that, but this is like that. Okay? Tilson. Some of you had a bundle of twigs. I think Tilson is fenugreek.
How much of our price of if you burn it?
Yeah, but you're not allowed to burn it l'chatchila.
No, but after Pesach, you find chametz that after Pesach.
Yeah, it's mutter bana.
It's mutter, you could use the ashes.
No, but you're not allowed to burn the ashes. You're not allowed to burn it yourself. That's like aim of outland is for l'chatchila.
So, what do you do with the chametz?
You bury it. Although I might be wrong about that. I think I'm wrong. I think you're allowed to burn the chametz and then you're allowed to use the ashes. Yes. You can use the ashes. Yeah. You certainly can use the ashes. I think you're allowed to burn the chametz. It's not called bittul. I take that back. It would be permissible. Okay? Mishilu Chavili Tilson Shokili Hakerem. Some of you had Chavili Tilson, had bundles, or I believe they're fenugreek bundles, of Kili Hakerem, which grew, of course, in a vineyard and now became kilaim, right, are forbidden. Yidoku, they must be burnt. Nisaru Ba'achir. What if they got mixed up into others? In other words, one of these bundles got mixed up into other bundles. Yikula Yidoku. They have to burn all the bundles, Divi Rabbi Meir. Why? Because it's not bottle, it's a Darba Choshev. It's significant. Once it's in a bundle, it's never cancelled. The Chacham say if there are 200 bundles corresponding to this one, so then this one is okay, it's saved. Sharai Meir said, Meir said, things which are generally counted, even though they're not always counted. And generally, bundles of twigs are sold by count, not by estimate. So things which are generally counted, Mekadesh, they're considered to be choshev, and they're not bottom. Chachamim argue, they say there are only 6 things, which we're going to learn in the next Mishnah, which are never batel, because they are never sold by estimate, ever. Rameir holds if they're generally sold by number and not by estimate, that already is enough to say they're not cancelled. Rabbanan say it must be something which is always sold by amount and never by estimate. Only then is it not cancelled. So that's 6 things. Akiva says 7 things. We're going to learn them in the next Mishnah. In the meantime, Vakami Chavila. How much is a bundle? Esrim is a type where it should be Esrim Chamisha Zirin. 25 stalks is a bundle. I know it is important to tell us, but from 4 of these bundles, you can make bed legs. In other words, one of the bundles is still too slender to make bed legs. You put 4 bundles together, it can make legs of a bed. Rabbi Yochanan Shimon Lakish Chadamai Divrei Meir. Rabbi Yochanan Shimon Lakish, they had a machlokas. One said, Korei Meir Asora Dvarim Mekachim. There are 10 things in the world which are Mekadesh. In other words, Rabbanan said 6, Rabbi Akiva said 7. Rabbi Meir holds 10. There are only 4 more, and they are enumerated, but we won't get into that right now. The Charon Amar, the other said, no, Divrei Meir, Korei Meir, it's much more than that. Kol Advarim Mekachim. Anything which is occasionally sold by occasionally or generally, I'm not sure exactly which one, but occasionally or generally sold by a number, even if it's often sold by estimate or by weight, nonetheless it's also. So it's much more than 10 things. 10 things would be somewhat expanded on 6 or 7, but relatively minor. 10, according to him, it's anything which is often sold by number, that already is considered to be something which is not batel. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Amar Shmuasa, he said in the name of a tradition, literally something he had heard, that Masnisa Pliga, this Brisa argues on the Brisa are about to quote. It's a Mishnah actually. The Masnisa Pliga, the Mishnah about to quote argues Amanda Mardiver Meir on the opinion which holder Meir holds. There are big typos here. According to the opinion holder Meir holds, Kol Hadvarim Mekachim. Okay, not a sword Dvarim Mekachim. The following Mishnah which about learns argues that the opinion Meir holds that there anything which is sold by number becomes usher no matter how much there is opposite it to cancel it. The Taniyah, because we learned over there, Rabbi Yehuda said, it's a typo here too, which we are Meir said, Meir, Lo Yisuz Karu Rimone Badon, the Chatzire Geva. The only reason why Rimone Badon, pomegranates from Badon, and Chatzire Geva, another type of grain, I'm not sure exactly what it is, from the city of Geva, they were only mentioned because Elashayu, now here's another typo, Mekachim B'chol Sheheim, that they are Mekadesh no matter what. In other words, that they're not canceled even by 200. So Rameir is saying these specific types Ask the Gemara. B'shar kol rimonim ein darkon limonos. What about other pomegranates? Many pomegranates are sold by number, right? You go to Dominic's, you can very often buy pomegranates by number. So why is he singling out Rimone Badon? The pomegranates of the town of Badon. It must be that they had a special quality that they were always sold by measure. At least according to Meir. So it must be also a Meir holds, Mr. Zuger. It's too early. It's what? Meir holds that no matter how infrequently, I shouldn't say how infrequently, no matter that it's not always sold by number, the opposite. Meir holds that even though it's only only these things, Rimonei Badon, very limited amount, only the pomegranates of Badon, those are the ones that are never bought. But Einachinami, other pomegranates, even though they're very often sold specifically by number and not by weight, they are bought. So this sounds like the people which tell us there are only 10 things in the world which are not canceled. Everything in the world is cancelable. Okay? So it says the Gemara, no. El Rimone Badon. The Gemara gives a refutation. Though I don't like this refutation so much. El Rimone Badon. He said, the Gemara says, the pomegranates are Badon. Aideshi Chavi, because they're very, very precious. Darkly monos, they're always counted. Shalkorimonim. Other pomegranates, Aideshi Ein Chavi, because they're not so beloved. They're not so well liked. Ein Darkly monos, they're not sold by count. They're sold by estimate. Yeah, it sounds pretty schwach, yeah.
As far as Machzis Sheker, Hashem felt that the Jewish people was so precious that he wanted to count them.
Yeah, so that's true, but the thing is, the question is really the Gemara is going on a tremendous limb here. What I say, the other pomegranates are never sold by number. Come on, they're always sold by estimate. Very unlikely. Yeah, but that to say they're very precious doesn't bother me. To say the other ones are not precious at all, I mean, today they sell pomegranates. Now today, but it has to be not precious at all. It has to be that we sell by estimate, not by volume, not by number. Okay, so it is dochak. Says the Mishnah first. Halacha. Veilein, what are the 6 or 7 things according to Rabbanon? It goes a perech, the nuts of perech. Rimone Badon, the pomegranates of Badon. Chavios tumos, closed barrels of wine. The chilfas trodim. These are stalks of beets. The kilchei kruv. These are stalks of cabbage. Udlas yivonis, Greek gourd. Rabbi Kiva Omer Avki Karosh Ba'abayzer. Kiva adds a 7th commodity. The loaves which belong to a homeowner who obviously always sells them by number. Haroyal Orlah. What? Homeowner. One made at home, baked their own bread. Okay. Haroyal Orlah. Those things are suitable to become Orlah, and therefore are never canceled. Haroyal Kilakeh. Those things are suitable to become Kilayim, they become Kiliyah Kerem, and again are never canceled. Okay, Rabbi Yonah here, boy means stated, Hashkede Perechlo, that what is so significant it's not canceled, only the nuts of Perech, but the almonds of Perech are not as significant, and they are batel. Masnisa, our Mishnah is talking about Bestuma ben Astumos. When is a closed barrel significant and it's not canceled? If it's a closed barrel among other closed barrels. No matter how many other closed barrels you have, this closed barrel is not canceled. Avostuma ben Absuchos. But if you had a closed barrel among open barrels, and then the closed barrel was opened. O psucha bin astumos. You have an open barrel among the closed barrels. And then that barrel was closed, right? Tzricho shiur acher. Then it's not batel, they just need the other shiur, which is 200. So it's interesting, really, well, I'll explain what's interesting. Why do I have to explain? Says Mark, you know what? How's it possible to have a mixture in this case? You can identify what it is. If it's an open one among closed ones or a closed one among open ones, you know which one it is. So it's not a mixture. We're talking about a mixture. Where's the mixture here? Right? Says Maram Rabbi Zir said, Tipotter explained it with the following case. This is a little bit of a complicated case. We're talking about B'psucha Eitzah Chenvani. We're talking about a barrel which has a seal. The seal, however, can be sealed in various different ways. A lid, I should say, to be more precise. A barrel which has a lid. By the homeowner, he doesn't seal the lid tightly. The shopkeeper seals the lid tightly. Okay, so dealing with a barrel, which vis-a-vis a homeowner would be considered sealed. Vis-a-vis a shopkeeper is not considered sealed. Okay? Because the seal is partially on and not completely on. Right, it's not tamper-proof, right. So we're talking about a case like this. The part we're talking about Bipsucha, a lid which would be considered opened by a storekeeper, Shikastuma Eitzah Ba'abais, which is considered closed by the Ba'abas. Now, where did it get mixed up? It got mixed up by the storekeeper. So they all look the same. That's why it's a tarovis. Right, but wherever it is, it's really open, so therefore it's bought to 1 in 200. That's why it's bought to. Okay? Vatani asked the Gemara, wait a minute. It says, V'nistima. It says in our Mishnah, that even once, or in the Mishnah which we just quoted the Gemara, actually, being more precise, the price we quoted the Gemara, it says, even once it's sealed, it's still bought to. Why is that? Once it's sealed, right? It doesn't mean it's literally sealed. It means that even once the owner took it back to his house, and by the owner it's considered to be sealed.
Oh, it came from the owner.
Come from the owner's house, and then he takes it back. The owner takes it away from the store, takes it back to his house. So now it's vis-a-vis the owner, it's sealed. So I might see at that point it's not bottle again. Even though it left the place of the tarovis or got mixed in, but it maybe now retains its prohibition. Because vis-a-vis the homeowner, it's sealed, and therefore it's choshen. And vis-a-vis him, maybe it's not bottle. That's why I have to say that it is bottle. In other words, once it was bottle in its original location, it remains bottle subsequently. Okay? Rabbi Crispo Sherry Yochanan said, Kol Ilenk, that was another statement on the next part of our Mishnah, not relevant to what we said before. Oh. He came in time for the Siyum. Orlah, not of Zroy. I was very, very makbid not to do more than 2 blot a night. I was very makbid. Exactly 2 blot a night.
And he kept on saying, oh, and when Mackenzie comes back,
yes.
See how far we are.
Yes, so we know.
You
Testament out. We just got the Testament base tonight.
You're in time for the season.
Yeah.
I went to, 1 second. You test, and I got to.
Can you throw open the door, please?
Beis Shemesh would start.
This is a great Masechta, by the way. This is an extraordinarily wonderful Masechta.
I got to use. Oh, I'm not so far behind. I got to use Zion.
Yeah, it's not hard Gemara either. Okay, did you enjoy it?
What I discovered was the impact of Lubavitch in Venice, yes, and Nice. Unbelievable.
They give all the Ashkachas in Italy.
It's not just Ashkachas. This guy in Venice has his own restaurant. That's the Chabad business. He owns this very nice restaurant. Shabbos, he opens it up to anybody and everybody who wants to come. It's free. Friday night meal, Shabbos lunch meal.
Wow, great. Okay. Yeah, now where are we now?
Good Testament
base here. I don't know where you're starting from, but
about the 5th line.
About the 5th line down? Yeah. Okay. No. The 2 lines below it. But Rabbi Crispa. Rabbi Crispa B'Shem said, "Kol Kir v'Karaisa." All the male gourds and female gourds. By the way, I did not know this. There are male gourds and female gourds. Okay. I I don't know either. I asked Rabbi Trursky about this because he knows many things about many things, and he was on the impression that fruit only grows on female trees, not on male trees. There are male trees and female trees. That's why pollination comes good. That's where the bees come in. Remember birds and the bees, right? The bees pollinate the trees. No, some do and some don't. Some do and some don't, right. Some have to cross-pollinating, right. Right. Not cross, I don't know, cross-pollinating is the right word for it. Is that what the word? But that's what bees do. Right, it brings pollen from the male to the female, right. Okay? Right, so the thing is, but I was under the impression that, or rather he was under the impression that only female trees grow gourds. Grow fruits. But here it seems that both male and female grow different fruits. Anyway, why are we bringing this down? Because the Kiryat Christ of the Ananochlin, Tlas Yivanisinu, they're all, Stam gourds are Greek gourds, and Greek gourds are not Batel. So therefore, if you have one Greek gourd of Orlah, actually of Kilayim, because Tlas is not a tree, but where you have one of Kilayim, so it's going to ruin everything that it gets mixed into. Okay? Rabbi Yonah has a question. The Mishnah mentioned that which is suitable to create Orlah creates Orlah. That which is suitable to create Kila Kerem creates Kila Kerem. Why did we mention that was suitable to create Truma problems creates Truma problems? Amalei Rabbi Yosef said very good answer. It says, Truma nohegas bakol. Truma, everything. That you can't use the word Roy by Truma. Roy Orla means because not everything creates Orla. Why does not everything create Orla? Because it's got to be a tree. Roy Kila Kerem, because not everything creates Kila Kerem. What creates Kila Kerem? Only grain or vegetables which get mixed into a vineyard. Not for example, other fruit, right? But Truma is everything. So therefore, you can't use the word Truma when it comes, or Roy when it comes to speak about Truma. Okay, now this is talking about where these substances were all whole. And they're not batel because they're davar chashuv. What about halacha vav? These spots where it goes in if the nuts crack. These spots the pomegranate split. The barrels open. The gourds are sliced. Nisparshu kikros the loaves are sliced. Yalubech masayim. Then they lose their chashivas and their butter 1 and 200. Noflu v'achakach nispatzu. What if they fell into a mixture and then the whole mixture got cracked up? All right. In other words, you had usher nuts which fell to mutter nuts and then they got cracked altogether. Bein b'shoy bein b'mezil lo yal divrei meir. Tough. So when it fell was chashiv, so then it's forever it's awesome. That's our meir. Right? Whether they got cracked afterwards intentionally or unintentionally. Right? If they got cracked afterwards, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, yalu. So then they are batel. Rabbi Yossi Omer shogeg yalu. Mezid lo yalu. It was done unintentionally, then they get batel. Mezid it's done intentionally, lo yalu, then they're not batel. My Tartar Meir, now we're going to explain everybody's position here. My Tartar Meir, what's the logic of Meir? We asked her Shoygig, lest you come to do it Mason, right? So therefore we asked her across the board. My Tartar Meir, what's the logic of Meir? It says mutter or no matter what. It's very interesting. It's for Kanso Biyado. He already's fined. How's he fined? Because his nuts are cracked. Nuts being cracked loses their value. So that's inherently a fine. So therefore, we're not going to fine him anymore by making them aser. Batal Rabbi Yossi, who differentiate between Mason and Shoygeg, Kaidom Rabbi Yavo, like that which Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yochanan, Kolei Surin, any prohibited substance, Shechiba Aleim Shoygeg Mutter, which you increased in order to cancel it. It's unintentionally it's mutter, made it also, which of course is the way we pass the name of Avlin is Silchat Chila. Shimon Lakish b'Shem Rabbi Yeshua said, we had this case in Trumas already. You had in front of you 150 barrels of wine, which were all sealed, so it's not batel, because a sealed barrel is never batel, right? Nispatchu me'ah. What if 100 of them became open, and now the truma has enough open barrels to be bottled in, right? Because truma's bottled in 100. It means 101 barrels, right? 101 barrels. Man mutaros, those 100 barrels are mutar. 50 asus, the other 50 are osur. Vashar, the rest of them, when they come open, you mutaros. In other words, as each one, if you after 100, if they became open again inadvertently, so each as many as are open are mutar. Rabbi Zir said, however, so they come open on their own. But to you to go and open them, l'chatchila is asur. Debate Rabbi Yanai Shali. In the house of Rabbi Yanai, they asked the question, fascinating question. The last, you got a gourd. Sholka b'veisaviyah. You cooked it while still connected to the ground. It's like a Valdiga case. You put it in the pot and you cooked it while still connected to the ground. What's the question? Mao shetit bolu meiser. This is a chayv and meiser. We know once you cook something, it's chayv and meiser. You can't even eat from it arai anymore. No eating temporary after snacking. But here that's mechuber lakarka. What do you do with it? What's its status? Levi asked the additional question. Mao shetit tu masochlin. Is it metame tu masochlin? Normally that which is connected to the ground, it's not metame. But here you cooked it, so maybe it's metame. Says the Gemara, in a chanami, shoka kibuchutechasi. Once you cook it, it's like it's cooked. That's it. Milsa de Shmuel Amar.
Because it's not deriving any nutrients from the ground anymore. Because it's dead.
That's a very good spot. I really didn't think of that, but you're right. It's not deriving nutrients from the ground.
So even physically it's connected, but
right.
Physiologically it's
the
not.
thing is, they're going to that till now. That's true, and that's a good spot, and that's not a chiddush. The chiddush comes now. Well, not yet. In a minute. Milsa de Shmuel. That's like Shmuel. The Shmuel Amar she metame tu masochlin. Shmuel in fact said this. That's metame tu masochlin once it's severed from the ground, or once it's cooked, even if it's not severed from the ground. Now here comes the chiddush. V'am Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yibun b'shem Rabbi Shmuel te'enim v'anovim shetzimku b'yiveim. You have grapes and figs which shriveled on the vine. Okay. The grapes and figs shriveled on the vine. Now, it's not necessarily that the grapes and the vine shriveled, I think, but rather the vine shriveled. I'm not clear about that, but that's what I assume. Be that as it may, metame tu masoichlin. They're metame now, right? You would say because they're not deriving nutrients from the ground. But the chiddush is hagoy demem b'Shabbos. If you remove them on Shabbos, chay mishum kotzer. You have it both ways.
Yeah, because physically it's still connected
right.
to the ground.
And for Shabbos, anytime you cut something, it's considered right. That's exactly the difference. But Shabbos is not integral that it's deriving nutrients. For example, classic example is hair. You cut hair on Shabbos, you're chayim mishum kotzer. Hair is dead. It's dead cells, right? You're nonetheless you're chayim. So we see that the chiyuv is on cutting from the ground, severing, not on severing nutrient flow. Okay? These parsu kikros, once the loaves are cut, they become batel. They can become batel. Masis Rabbi Akiva are mishlik Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva mar av kikros shabayis. Rabbi Akiva is the one who said that the loaves of a balabas are choshev and not batel unless they are sliced up. Okay, last mishnah in the Masechta, I think. Yeah. Savei ka'arlo ba'ared. Now this is one of the main. Important. Okay, Savik Masechta is important. Savik Orlah Eretz Yisrael. You have a Savik of Orlah on Eretz Yisrael. You don't know if something's Orlah or not. Also, you have to be Machmir. B'Syria, if you have a Savik in Syria, Mutter. You can be Matir. Chutz La'aretz. In Chutz La'aretz, it's even lower Madrega. What do you do in Chutz La'aretz? Yori v'lokef. You know there's Orlah in that yard. You may go and buy from the owner of the yard, who's the guy, locate as long as you don't see him collecting. Okay, so 3 madregas, right? The highest, the worst, Eretz Yisrael, it's Aser. Syria, it's Mutter. Chutz La'aretz, you can go down and take it as long as you don't see the guy, actually cutting off the Orlah tree. Kerem Shunatu is similarly. Kerem Shunatu Yerek, a vineyard which has vegetables in it, which is Kiliak Kerem. V'yerek nimkar chutzalo, and the vegetables are sold outside the yard. Be'eretz Yisrael also. In Eretz Yisrael it's also because it's a Safek. It's Safek the right L'chumra. B'Suria mutar, in Syria it's mutar. Over Chutz La'aretz, and in Chutz La'aretz, Yored V'Loki, you may go down and collect. Ovachal Yichel B'Yad, as long as you do not go and collect yourself with your hand. In other words, the goy does it for you. Okay? HaChodash Asr Min HaTorah B'Chol Makom. One of the most famous quotes in all of Shas. Chodesh is us. Don't worry, Yerushalmi. Don't worry. The Yerushalmi will not hold this way. LaLocha. HaChodesh Asr Min HaTorah B'Chol Makom. That's what we learn in Yerushalmi. Orlah is only us because Halacha Moshe Misinai. Vakilaim in is also in Chutz La'aretz. Only can be the Ritzot and only the Rabbana. Okay, it says the Gemara. Ezu Safek Orlah. What's the Safek of Orlah? Kerem Shel Orlah. You have a vineyard of Orlah. Vanovi Ninkoros Chutzulo, and you have grapes which are sold outside the vineyard. Beretz Yisrael Asur. So in Eretz Yisrael, not allowed to take it. Now, it has to be clear here. The Yerushalmi does not make this clear, but he brings down here from the Tosefta. The says, obviously there are both trees inside the vineyard, because it's not a Safek, it's definitely Asur. We're talking about where the young trees and old trees in the vineyard, right? So you're outside the vineyard. So in Eretz Yisrael, you're not allowed to buy from the vineyard because you're Mesubak. Maybe it's from the young trees. So if you can't buy because it's Orlah. B'Suria mutar, Syria you're Mesubak, but if you're Safek, you're allowed to go and buy. Rabbi Yehuda said, Abzus fake also B'Suria. If that's the case, it's also also in Syria. Ezu Safek mutar. What makes it mutar? Only if there's an additional Safek involved. Ezu Safek mutar B'Syria. Kerem Shel Orlah. You have this vineyard in which are young and old trees. And next to Kerem Acher B'Tzido, there's another vineyard which is completely older trees. Okay? And their grapes being sold outside of the two vineyards. So it's really a double Safek. It's almost a Sfeik. It's not really a Sfeik, because one Safek, is it Orlah or is it not? But it's an additional, facade of a Safek. You have a Safek where there came from the Orlah, the one which has mixture, or Safek came from the field, the vineyard in which there's no mixture. Everything is old, right? Everything is born 3 years. So that's the case where in Eretz Yisrael it's also of Syria mutar and in Syria it's mutar. Now, there's a major line missing for the Gemara here. Big line missing. Ezu Safek. I'm reading a line from here. It's in the. I'm assuming to read Baz brings it down, but I don't have it in front of me. Vezu Safek Kilaim. What's the Safek of Kilaim, which we're describing in our Mishnah? Kerem Shunatu Yerek, we have a vineyard in which part of the vineyard is planted with vegetables, and part of it is just vegetables alone. The Yerek Nimkar Chutzlo, and vegetables are being sold outside the vineyard. Be'eretz Yisrael Asur, in Eretz Yisrael it's Asur. B'Suria mutar, in Syria it's mutar. Now, picking up in the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda says, Avzu, even in this case, it's Asur B'Syria. It's Asur. Ezu Safek mutar, rather, we have to make this parallel to the previous case. What's the Safek which is mutar B'Syria? Kos Kerem Natur Yerek, you have a vineyard which has some vegetables mixed in with the vines and some separate from the vines. Usada Yerek Acher B'Tzido, then you have another vegetable patch next to it on the side. Yerek Nimkar Chutzlo, and vegetables being sold outside of both of them. Be'eretz Yisrael Asur, in Eretz Yisrael it's forbidden. Over Syria mutar, and in Syria it's mutar. Over Chutz La'aretz you're even located. Chutz La'aretz you can go down and collect. Ovachal Yukal B'Yad, as long as you don't collect with your own hands. Okay, now again. In Eretz Yisrael, you're allowed to go down and actually see the guy doing it. You can go down and see the guy collecting from the Asur vineyard. You don't see him collecting from the tree itself. Obviously, that's ludicrous. But you know it came from the Asur vineyard, right? And you see him collecting from the Asur vineyard. You're still allowed to take it because perhaps it's from the mutar trees. Okay? And that's both by Kilaim and by Orlah. All right? And we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss that more. Rabbi Yehuda said, Odi Bikad Mesa. This is also in the last case, the same case by Orlah, just by Kilei Kerem. just like by Orlah, Yoriv Lokech Uvachli Renu Locate. It didn't mention specifically say in the Mishnah that you shouldn't see him. But that's clear. We also have to say in this case that you're not allowed to see him. That the guy goes and does it himself, but you don't go ahead and see him. Okay? Again, you know he's taken from that field. He's not outside the field. Even in Syria, where we're lenient, we only are lenient to the extent you're buying outside the field. Right? You don't see him going into the field and bringing you out from that field. So there's a remote possibility. According to Rabbi Yehuda, there's actually another field of heter next door, which you know about. In Rabbanan, there is a possibility that he bought it from another field and not from this field itself. Don't ask, don't tell. You don't have to ask him, but there is a possibility. But by the chutzlar, it's mamish, that even if you know he's getting it from this field, nonetheless, since you didn't see him taken from the osir trees or the osir vegetables, you're allowed to buy from him. Okay? Why is that? Because Orlah and Kilei HaKerem seem to be the Rabbanan chutzlaretz. Okay? Although we'll see that's not necessarily true. Now, the truth is in Syria, they're also the Rabbanan. Right? But since Syria at Kibush Yochid, since it was partially quasi-conquered as part of Eretz Yisrael, so therefore we give it a higher madrega, and that's why we're more stringent there. Okay? Says more Masnisa, a very famous Yerushalmi. Masnisa the Rabbi Lezer. Our Mishnah is like Rabbi Lezer. The Tzina Tamonu, of course, is from Beis Shammai. Normally don't paskin like him. The Tzina Tamonu we learned over there. Kol mitzvah sheina tluya baretz. Any mitzvah which is not contingent on the land, the hegis baretz uv'chutz la'aretz applies both in Eretz Yisrael and chutz la'aretz. V'chol mitzvah sheitluya baretz, and any mitzvah which is contingent on the land, and in hegis el baretz only applies in Eretz Yisrael. Chutz min ha'oil l'klayim, except for oil l'klayim which apply even in chutz la'aretz. Rabbi Lezer mer hafa chadash. Rabbi Lezer says also chadash applies to chutz la'aretz. Ma time, the time of the Rabbi Lezer. What's the logic of Rabbi Lezer? The chomosh v'seichem. It says, in all your settlements. Doesn't mean a moshav. It means any place where your Jews are settled. B'chol makom. It's been b'chutz la'aretz. Both in Eretz Yisrael and chutz la'aretz. Ma mekaymin Rabbanan, time of the Rabbi Lezer. What do Rabbanan do with this pasuk which Rabbi Lezer used? B'chol mosh v'seichem. They say b'chodosh. What do they use that pasuk by chodosh? They use it as a slight typo. It should be shelkan. They say it applies to grain from Eretz Yisrael, which went to chutz la'aretz. In other words, grain of chutz la'aretz is no chadash by. It's grain of Eretz Yisrael, which went to chutz la'aretz, and that there's chadash. Okay, so what do we see clearly? What do Rabbanan hold? Chadash is mutter in chutz la'aretz, right? That's part of the basis of those who are matir chadash, because normally we paskin like Rabbanan over Rabbi Lezer. Problem is Stam Mishnah here, which paskins like Rabbi Eliezer, right? Stam Mishnah without attribution. So they find other Stam Mishnayos in Shas, which do paskin like, which do go like Rabbi. What? We need another Stam. That's the thing. We need another Stam. That's why the Rambam, the Rif, and the Rosh all do paskin like this Mishnah, because it is a Stam Mishnah. So the other Rishonim find another Stam Mishnah to pass like it, so it goes. But you see clearly Yerushalmi opens the door by saying this Mishnah is Rabbi Lezer. Okay? Rabbi Yonah boy kume Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yonah asked for Rabbi Yossi, Lama lo tnin avachalim boy. Why takas chal not mention our Mishnah? So Amar Lei, so he said, Lo asinon, or why did Rabbi Lezer did not? Lo asinon asisin. Rabbi Lezer Mishnah only brought el darvish shnoi b'Yisrael v'goyim, something which applies by both Jewish and non-Jewish stuff. And of course, chadash applies by according to Rabbi Lezer. Well, chadash applies even to non-Jewish grain, right? And the same thing is true about Orlah and Kilei HaKerem. Applies to non-Jewish growth as well. Challah, however, only applies to Jewish produce, meaning Jewish doughs. The Chsiv says, "Reishis ariso seichem," your dough, v'lo goyim, not the dough of goyim. Okay, next, v'orlah halacha. Now, Orlah is halacha l'Moshe Sinai, it seems. Now, Shmuel Amar Kilchas Medina. Hilchos Medina is an interesting statement. I've never seen it before. Hilchos Medina is like Halichos Medina. Halichos means like the pathways. And Shmuel holds that Oral Chutzlaretz is a minhag. It's not a Doraisa, it's not a Rabban, it's not a Lochel Moshe B'Sinai, it's a minhag. Hilchos Medina means minhag. Rabbi Yechanan Amar, Rabbi Yechanan says Lochel Moshe B'Sinai. Rabbi Yechanan says Lochel Moshe B'Sinai. When it says Lochel Moshe means Lochel Moshe B'Sinai. Rabbi Yasa Bikkurim Rabbi Yechanan. Right, it's about close where Yosef Relocha means. But now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's very strange. Rabbi Yasi, boy, Kumi Rabbi Yochanan, he asked for Rabbi Yochanan, Halochel Moshe B'Sinai about Tamar Achein? If it's Lochel Moshe B'Sinai, why is it Sofik Mutzah and Chutzlaretz? I understand if it's a Rabbanon, so they can say whatever they want. So leave it a minute, they can say whatever they want. And they're going to be Mako by a Sofik. But if it's a Doraisa, how can this be? If it's a Lochel Moshe B'Sinai, how can this be? What?
Is it a mitzvah?
No. If it's a Lochel Moshe B'Sinai, it's obviously not. If it's a Lochel Moshe B'Sinai, that applies also in Chutzlaretz, or L'Eretz Yisrael's Psukim. Right? But it's a Lochel Moshe B'Sinai that applies in Chutzlaretz, so then how can we make it a Sofik? It has the status of a Doraisa, right? So it says the more, Patamar Achein, so he said, "B'shosh nida alocha kach nida." When the alocha was given, that's the way it was given. That you can be making chutzlaretz. They can make chutzlaretz. It was given with the kula and chutzlaretz built in. That was part of parcel. What? That Sofik Orlah will always be mutter. The Sofik Orlah is, that's why, of course, the paskim is manazeh. Otherwise, you couldn't survive in chutzlaretz, right? He said, Yisrael. Rabbi Yasa, who was Rabbi Yasi in the Bavli, said, if I only came to Israel, if I only came to Israel to hear this, it would be sufficient. I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes. Kilayim is also the Rabbanan in the Chutzlaretz. Everybody agrees it's the Rabbanan. Shmuel Amar B'kilei HaKeren. Thou Rabbanan Aser in Chutzlaretz, it's only Kilei HaKeren. B'kilei is Roim Mutter. But Kilei is Roim is also because grafting is actually the same like animal husbandry. You're not allowed to graft midoraisa anywhere, even in Chutzlaretz. Okay? No matter what. Grafting is also, we're talking about here, planting together. That might be only the Rabbanan, but grafting is also the Raisa. Okay? Says the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan B'kilei HaKeren. Rabbi Yochanan says by Kilei HaKeren saying that Shmuel is only the Rabbanan, like our Mishnah said. But he also B'kilei Yisrael Aser. Kilei Yisrael are also the rights in Chutzlaretz, which is extraordinarily ironic. Kilei HaKeren, which is the much more chomer thing, it's also Banoah. In Chutzlaretz is the Rabbanan, according to everybody. Kilei Yisrael, which is the lighter thing, it's not also Banoah. Rabbi Shmuel holds it's Mutzah Chutzlaretz altogether. Rabbi Yochanan holds it's also be the rights in Chutzlaretz. Amazing concept. Gemara will explain it. I'm Ravuna. Ravuna said, "Kadnachtu ma'aravaya." When the Israelis came back or came down from Eretz Yisrael to Taman, from there, Amruna, they said it b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, v'kimuna, and they explained it as well. Why? As chukosai tishmoichu. It says, keep my laws. Do not husband your animal, kilaim. Do not plant in your field this kilaim. Do not wear shatnez. And there's obviously a linkage drawn here between the kilaim of seeds to the kilaim of garments, shatnez, and the kilaim of crossbreeding. Just like the kilaim of garments and of animals. Shein tluim b'aretz are not contingent on Eretz Yisrael. V'nagim b'aretz u'v'chutzlaretz. They apply both in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutzlaretz. Av kilei Yisrael, so to kilei Yisrael. Av will be shein tluim b'aretz, even though they are contingent on Eretz Yisrael. It would seem they're contingent on the land of Israel. Nonetheless, nogim b'aretz u'v'chutzlaretz. They apply both in Eretz Yisrael and Chutzlaretz because of their placement in the pasuk. They're sandwiched between shatnez and crossbreeding. Those are anywhere, so too this must be anywhere. So it's a good pasuk. It's solid. Chad Barnash Zora Chakle Sorin Velepis. So there's a guy in Chutz La'aretz who planted his field with barley and turnips. Kilei Zroim. Over Chanin Guvisa. So Chanin from the town of Guvisa passed by for Akrin. He was a zealous individual. He uprooted everything which was growing there. As Uvdi Kami to Shmuel. So came for this mice came from Shmuel, Vikansi, and Shmuel made him pay for the field. Because Shmuel, of course, holds Kilei Zroim and Chutz La'aretz is mutter. So if he said you had no right to do it. Okay? Now here it says Ditani. But it's really, although it reads better if we take out the Dalit. Tani. It's we have a brisa. Ain't no see me so climb. If you have a Jew in Eretz Yisrael, well, Shmuel's going to say it's in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan's going to argue. We'll see. Ain't no see me kilaim. Ain't no see me so climb. If you have a Jew who Rachmana litzlan is planted kilaim, you're not allowed to help him out. Why? We say they're Ravera. You're assisting in doing Avera. Avol okrim obiklayim. You're allowed to go and help him uproot the kilayim. Obviously, they should remind Avera because you're doing Avera. Now, even if he's not doing it for tshuva, he's just weeding his field. But since he's doing something which is saving for Avera, you're allowed to go and help him. Okay? Tani, we learned Eino sim ima goy bikilayim. You're not allowed to help a goy with kilayim. Whether it's kilei kerem or kilei zroim, you're not allowed to help him. Avol, however, that's in Eretz Yisrael. By Yosam Uvlos Eretz Yisrael, cities which are adjacent to Eretz Yisrael, even surrounded by Eretz Yisrael, three sides. Could go Bino, V'imo, V'charoseh, Osim Moim B'kilayim. Hypothetically, you should be like Rekem and Cheger, right? Maybe these are the Yerushalmi term for them. There you're allowed to help them do work in Kilayim because it's Chutz La'aretz and they're going. So what's the problem? Says more no. They changed their mind. They made an instant rabbanan. Kishem shekilayim ba'aretz. They made it just like this Kilayim in Eretz Yisrael. Kach Kilayim Chutz La'aretz. So this Kilayim Chutz La'aretz, and therefore you're not allowed to help them out, even the Chutz La'aretz. Again, midrabanan. Shmuel Pasalei Pasamasi said Eno Sima Goy. He explained the bride so you can't help a Goy Bikilayim Ba'aretz with Kilayim in Eretz Yisrael. Baby Kilei Kerem Kilei Zroim. Obviously they're both also in Eretz Yisrael. Ava Bayoras Muvlos Eretz Yisrael. The seeds which are in the midst of Eretz Yisrael, surrounded on all three sides, but they themselves are Chutz La'aretz. Kol Beino Vima V'Charvaseh Osi Moim Bikilayim. There you're allowed to help Goy Bikilayim. That was the initial stance. Then they changed their mind. Kishesh Kilayim Ba'aretz, Kach Kilayim Chutz La'aretz. They decided just like Kilayim Eretz Yisrael, so this Kilayim Chutz La'aretz, but only Kilei HaKerem. Kilei Zroim Mutar, but Kilei HaZroim they left permissible. Okay? Let me call. Says more. Rabbi Yochanan Pasam Masisa. Now Rabbi Yochanan had a shita like this. Rabbi Yochanan held that in Chutz La'aretz Kilei Zroim. We have a minyan here.
He was coming. He's in the bathroom. Yeah.
Is he? Would he make a minyan?
Still need a minyan.
There's a sheet of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan's shita was is that in area Chutz La'aretz Kilei Zroim is Kilei HaKerem is also only midrabanan. The rabbis forbade keep Kilei HaKerem in Chutz La'aretz. Kilei Zroim, which is normally considered to be a lesser madrega visser, because Kilei HaKerem also banoah, that which grows that which grows in proximity to grapevines, which is grain or vegetables, you're not allowed to derive any benefit from. Whereas Kilei Zroim are mutar banoah, you're allowed to derive benefit from them. Nonetheless, he holds because he has psukim, which Kilei Zroim is linked to Kilei HaKerem, is linked to shatnez and to animal crossbreeding, which are also applied to Chutz La'aretz. So he holds that Kilei Zroim is also midaraisa even in Chutz La'aretz, which is again ironic since it's less severe, but it's more extensive. Okay, so he learns that there's a brisa which Rabbi Yochanan explains as follows. Rabbi Yochanan Pasam Masnisa, he explains the brisa Eino Simim HaGoy B'Kilayim Ba'aretz. One is not allowed to help a goy when in working in Kilayim in Eretz Yisrael, because even though a goy is not commanded to refrain from Kilayim, but Eretz Yisrael itself, there's a kedusha, you're not allowed to have Kilayim growing there. So therefore, bein kili akerem, bein kili akerem, bein kili Yisraelim, whether he's growing kilayim in his vineyard or kilayim of two seeds planted together. But if you have cities, even if they're surrounded on three sides of Eretz Yisrael, right? You have in Gemara and Gittin, right? Rechem and Cheker are like that, right? And similar cities, even cities like that, you're allowed to help a goy grow kilayim there. Now, kishem shekilayim ba'eretz Yisrael kach kilayim b'chutz l'oretz. It says that Rabbanan then changed their mind, and they didn't allow you to work with a goy, even the chutz l'oretz, because they decided to make kilayim just like it's us in Eretz Yisrael, so to make it an us in chutz l'oretz. Now that's only b'kili akerem. Where was it a rabbinic decree? By kili akerem, or b'kili azroim, but by kili azroim. And the last word in the Masechta is missing. It's added on. It's called b'kili azroim. Also, it's an issa d'oraisa. Now that's the end of the Masechta. I just want to tell you a beautiful vort which I saw today the Rabbi Yosef Engel brings down. The Gemara brought down earlier, there's a halach, it says, Orlah is aser in chutz la'aretz, halach l'moshe misinai. But we hold Safik Orlah and chutz la'aretz is mutter. So the Gemara asks, how could it be? Halach l'moshe misinai, it's a daraisa, so Safik should be l'chumrah. So the Gemara says that it brings out Rabbi Yochanan said that was part of the halach l'moshe misinai. That it should always be mutter. That should, even in the that a suffix should be mutter. That was part of that suffix should be mutter. So even though normally the raisas require suffix the raisa to be l'chumra, I'm not getting to the Rambam, the Rashba, where the suffix the raisa is l'chumra the raisa, suffix the raisa is l'chumra the rabbanon. But normally, even though suffix the raisa is l'chumra, in this case we could be mekel.
Is that about shiur?
What?
I mean, you have the kasha, so you say, well, that was part of the halacha moshe.
No, so the question is, so Rabbi Yassi said to Rabbi Yochanan, it says, oh, if I only came to Eretz Yisrael to hear that, it would have been worthwhile. It's a very strange thing. This is what he wants to come to Eretz Yisrael to hear. Why? So I saw Rabbi Yosef Engel brings out an amazing thing. It's a medrash in Shir Rabbah. The medrash says that Rishim Bar Yochai asked Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yossi. He asked Rabbi Elazar Yossi, what's pshat in this pasuk? The pasuk which says, looking for the page. Pasuk which says, "Ba'tor she'itlo imo," that there was a crown which his mother gave to Shlomo HaMelech. So Rabbi Yochanan asked Rabbi Yochanan said over. Rishim Bar Yochai asked Rabbi Elazar Yossi, did you hear from your father, from Rabbi Yossi, what is this crown? So he said, yes, I heard what this crown is. What does the crown mean? It's like a king who had a daughter who he loved very much, and he called her his daughter. Then he loved her so much he called her his sister. He loved her so much he called his own daughter his mother. So too, Hashem loves the Jews too much. He calls them a daughter. Then he calls them a sister. Then he calls Am Yisrael the mother. So that's what it means. The Atar Shitlo Imo, it's the crown which Am Yisrael gives Hashem, and Am Yisrael is called the mother of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? It's a dangerous medrash if you take it the wrong way. But anyway, so in any event, so there's the Gemara, the Amra, it says, the medrash says, Amra Rishim Bar Yochai v'noshka rosho. Rishim Bar Yochai got up and kissed him on his head. Varmir says, Ilo basi el lishma mi picha tam hazeh da'i. If I only heard this, it would be sufficient. So Rabbi Yosef Engel says, similar lashon. If I only heard this, would have been sufficient. So he says, it's the exact same thing. He says here, what was so beautiful about this? That he heard how chaviv in Am Yisrael is, how precious the Jewish people are. So to hear, why was he so impressed by Halach L'Moshe Misinai? Because normally Rabbanan can come and answer. Why don't Rabbanan come and answer Safik or L'Chutz? It's like anything else, right? They should look, they answer Safik, anything else, they answer this as well. So why couldn't Rabbanan answer it? Because it's explicit Halach L'Moshe Misinai that it's mutter. And anytime there's something explicit, we have this principle. Anytime something is explicit in the Torah, Lehatera, Chazal are not allowed to come and answer it. It's a ban on Chazal. They're not allowed, whenever it says Torah says mutter, and whenever Allah Moshe Messina says mutter, the Chazal can't come and answer it. So he says, Rabbi Yosef Engel, that this shows how precious Am Yisrael is. Because Hashem was afraid, if I don't tell them it's mutter, what are they going to come and do? They're going to answer it. And if they answer it, so I have no choice but to abide by it, right? Because the Am Yisrael makes the Gzeros. HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself is bound by the Gzeros. So therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in order to fend off a base in going and doing that later on, he had to make sure to give Allah that it should always remain mutter. So this shows the Chavivus of Am Yisrael. They can make Gzeros and bind Hashem, and therefore Hashem has to preclude that by giving special halachos Moshe B'Sinai, so as to say that it was worthwhile coming to Eretz to see how chaviv Am Yisrael is, that Hashem has to give special halachos Moshe B'Sinai to prevent them doing things against what Hashem eventually wants to happen. Lo dis the shem nog mesel so dis tash bnon lo ba amdem lo ba amdas yer so mesel so va joglan dat lo mesel so da toglan no dis shem nog mesel so lo dis shem non lo ba amdem lo ba amdasi hajlo mesel so va joglan dat lo mesel so da toglan no dis shem nog mesel so lo dis shem non lo ba amdem lo ba amdasi yesh mevim bikurim bikurim. It looks like a very nice sefer. To take a look at it. Yeshvi Bikkurim Bikkurim. There's some people who bring Bikkurim and they read. Now, this is very appropriate to write for Pesach, because on Pesach we read the Parsha Bikkurim. That's Arami Ovid Ovi, right? That's what you read when you bring Bikkurim to the Beis Hamikdash, right? So that Parsha, some people could read and some people don't get the right to read. Depends. There's some people who bring Bikkurim and read Mevim Vilokrim. Some people bring Bikkurim and do not read the parsha. Some people don't bring Bikkurim altogether. More people don't bring Bikkurim altogether. You plant in your field. However, a shoot from your tree goes. Not a root, a shoot. A shoot from your tree goes into somebody else's yard, or goes into to the public domain. And so too, if you have if you take a shoot from a tree which is somebody else's yard, or out of the public domain, into your yard, you don't bring Bikkurim from that tree. You planted in your own yard. You brought a shoe into your yard. You have two yards, and you bring a runner from one of your yards into another one of your yards, or a shoot from one of your yards into another of your yards. But if there's a road which belongs to either a private individual or a public between the two fields, you can't bring Bikkurim. Rabbi Omer Mevi. Rabbi says you can't bring it. We're going to discuss why in the Gemara. Why in all these cases are you not allowed to bring Bikkurim? Because it says Reishis Bikurei ad Moscha. It has to be from your land, Tavi. Ad Shukok ad Moscha. Everything's got to grow from your land, and all these things derive nourishment and sustenance from land which is not yours. Okay? Yesh mevim b'chulei. It says more. There are those who bring etc. Hanoteh b'soch shelo v'ibich b'soch shel yachid. If you plant it in your own field, and then it ran into somebody else's field, or to public area. Even from the older tree you cannot bring. Obviously from the younger tree you can't, because that's the offshoot. Even from the older tree. Once you draw a shoot off the older tree, so there's nourishment being derived from somewhere else, you can't bring Bikkurim. And if you run a shoot from somebody else's yard into your yard, or from the public yard into your yard, so even from the young sapling in your yard you cannot bring. Hadam Raz teaches us Just like the younger tree derives nourishment from the older tree, so to the older tree derives nourishment from the younger tree, and both of them cannot bring Bikkurim. Neither then can bring Bikkurim.
That was a different concept with grafting. Right? We said that the younger graft derived nourishment from the older graft. But I don't think it's the other way around.
Right, well, grafting is different because not both are in the ground. Here, both are in the ground, so therefore, where it's bridging back and forth. So here it's different. You're right, of course it's different. Or Rabbi Yochanan says, Kula mishum Torahs hagazlan yardu lahem. All these have to do with theft. Interesting, there's going to be a major nafkamina, which we won't have time to see now whether you get reshus or not. Okay, so the question is this here because a special xeris cost? That's Rabbi Yossi says. Amle Rabbi Yossi, Masnisa Mamra Kain. Does our Mishnah say that? Mezatam Eino Vevi. For what reason don't you bring here? Nishum Shnei Marishis B'Kriyat Moscha. It says it's got to be your land. So it makes no difference if you got reshus or not, right? According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's going to be a difference if you got permission or not, because to us, do is Gzela. Rabbi Yossi argues, he says, what does our Mishnah say? Our Mishnah says that it has to do with your land. So if it has to do with your land, even if you got reshus, it's still not your land. Says, well, no. Tani, we have a brisa. Im hevrich birshus maybe v'koirei. If you got permission, Yitake can bring Bikkurim and read the parsha, which is like Rabbi Yochanan. So everything has to do with permission. So ad moscha means either your land or land you have permission on. Okay, we'll stop here for this evening. We're going to bring them. We'll come back to it Monday. Okay.